today's video, we're going to install these on this. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering Adventures. Today we're going to install some airbags on my, well, new to me, 2014 Dodge Ram 1500 4x4. I purchased this vehicle because I wanted to start towing a toy hauler. I bought a very, well, not light, but not super light, but a medium light toy hauler. I'll give you a quick shot of that. It's right over here, a little 20-footer. And I did tow it one time so far with this truck without the airbags, and it did okay. But we did not have the toys in it at that time, so I figure once I add the Rhino right there and my dirt bike, it's going to be at least another 1,000 pounds. I had a little bit of squat in the back of it, even with the weight distribution hitch, and I figure these airbags will be a nice addition. I'll show you the airbags that I purchased. This is by no means a endorsement of these. These are just the ones that I purchased. There's a few different ones out there, and I can't remember if there was I think there was a 2000 as well. So I went with this setup. You can add a remote to it later. I do not have that right now. I just have the airbags, which you have to pump up with like a compressor or whatever. Okay, to get started on these, you want to jack your truck up in the air and make sure you put jack stands under it. As you can see, the jack is still under there, but I do have jack stands. And also block up your front wheels. So there's all the safety stuff. I'm going to take the tires off both sides, and I'll be coming on back to you here. Now, Ram truck, I don't remember what year, but in the last at least 10 years or so, has a coil spring rear suspension rather than leaf. And I've done a little bit of research on this. Air spring goes inside of that coil, and according to the instructions, it says what you're supposed to do is flatten the bag out and then feed it in through the coils. Now, I wasn't sure how well that would work, but initially when I took the wheels off and I had the jack stands under the axle on both sides, this is what the coils look like. So then I decided to put a jack stand under the frame on the other side and then lower the axle, and you can see that it opened it up considerably. Now I have coil spring compressors, which I could put on and compress the coil springs and take them out, so that's an option. But I'm going to try this. So you can see I have the jack stand under that, whatever you call that link. I can't even remember what you would call that link on the back of the axle. But I have it on the mount for that, which is attached to the frame. So all the weight is off this side of the axle, so it's at full droop. So we're going to try the roll up the airbag like the instructions say. We'll see how that goes. And that's what it's showing right here. Let the air out, flatten it out, and it says in a hot dog bun shape, and then feed it in. So we'll see how that works. Okay, there's the airbag with the air rolled out of it. It's pretty stiff at the bottom and the top, so it'll be interesting to see if we can get it into there or not. I don't know. And then here's the coil spring compressors. You can either buy these or rent them from the auto parts store. A lot of the auto parts store have like a free tool rental thing. Anyway, let's see what happens here. If I can get you in a position where you can see here. I have my doubts as to how easily this is going to go. But perhaps, I think getting this first part in is going to be the hardest. And that's in okay now, but feeding it up in here, not the best. And it says you can use a blunt instrument to help push it up in there, but I know my luck with blunt instruments will probably lead to puncturing this thing. If I can get this first part fed past this first coil, I think we'll have something, but it's fighting a little bit. And I don't know if using the coil spring compressors will be faster than this or not. Okay, so I'm going to struggle with this a little bit. And I'll bring you back so that I don't have 10 minutes of me fighting. Okay, it took me about another 5 or so minutes and some not safe for YouTube words. I sprayed some soapy water on it and I used a long extension to kind of help push it in here. So that method does work, but it will frustrate you. So I think what we'll do is we will use these on the other side just to show the difference between the two. Okay, this is the driver's side, and I tried to use these spring compressors, but I just had no luck. I couldn't get the spring compressed enough to get it out. So I had to fight this one in as well. So if you can get the spring compressor and get the spring out, it's probably easier. For me, it definitely wasn't. I fought around with that for longer than it took to get this in here. So it's not easy. You really have to fight it to get it in. And once it's in there, getting the bottom of it in is the hardest part, really. But once you get these in, then there's, you take all the air out, put the cap on, then you take the cap off, and they expand. I don't know how well you can see the one on the other side. It's expanded out already. This one's slowly expanding. Just gonna let that go, and then I'm probably gonna see about taking out these fender liners. Hopefully it's as easy as it looks, a couple of bolts, half a dozen or so, because we need to access the top of it to get the air hose installed. If not, it's gonna be a fight getting up there. All right, now that we got the bags finally in the coils, we need to find out where we want to mount our fill valve. I've seen people mount them in here before, which is a nice little hidden place, but I think I'm gonna mount mine right back here. So I'm gonna drill a hole, we'll install that, and then we can start running the air lines, which are just gonna, you can run 2 Schrader valves and then fill each side independently, but I'm just gonna do one, that way they're even. And just run that line out of there, tee it off, bring it over here, bring it over there, and I'll show you the connections. Yeah, I'm not sure how you do it if you had these fender liners in here, so make sure you take them out. It would be a real pain. You ain't got a lot of room to work. It's right in there. It's where you have to make your connection. So I have routed the line back. I'll show you where I have it attached here. There you go. And I went pretty much right above the differential. I put the T right there, and then there's a frame brace that's running right about here, and that's where I teed these off, brought the lines over. So now what you want to do is cut your line, make sure you get a little room so you got some movement, but you don't want too much because if it gets down into the exhaust or something, you'll melt your line, of course. And then cut it to length, and then this screws on top. There's also this little spacer bit here that it says to put on the top of here. So I will get this cut, install one of these clamps, install it on both sides, and I'll show you what she looks like. Now that both sides have been installed and hooked up, I have put the vehicle back on the jack stands here so that the weight of the vehicle is on the springs. I mean, I could drop it down on the tires too, but we got to do some troubleshooting first. I have put in about 10, 12 PSI, something like that. Let me check it. There you go. We're at about 12 PSI. And what you want to do is take your soapy water and go around all your connections double check to see if you have any leaks. And then also make sure that your airbags are going where they're supposed to. Like this one looks like it's cocked in here a little bit funny. But I imagine once I set it all the way down, that it will go into position. So I want to check all your connections with the soapy water. Make sure you don't have a leak. That means crawling under here and checking the T wherever you decided to put that. And once you're happy with that, then take it out and road test it. And then when you're towing, you just have to decide what PSI you're going to run. I think this thing kind of gives you some, gives you a little bit of information here. So here you go. You're supposed to always have at least 5, and maximum is 50. So there you go. I'll probably start with, I don't know, 25 or so. See how it feels. I thought the truck did pretty well towing without them. Like I said, I did not have a full load on the trailer. So next time we go out, I will have the toys in there. We didn't bring the generator, so that'll be in there. Towing is it's a science, an art, all that sort of stuff. You want to make sure that you're not overloaded, know your tow capacity, know your gross vehicle weight rating, all that sort of stuff. Everything you add to the truck, including the passengers, the dogs, the dog food, the case of PBR, all that adds up. So just make sure you stay within the limits. And adding airbags does not increase your tow limits. Anyone who says, hey, I added airbags so I can tow more, that's not the case. It just kind of keeps the back end from squatting as much, and hopefully it will make the towing experience easier and better. Okay, if you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.